I welcome you all for today's session, QA session. Today we'll be covering simulation simulation, or what we call Monte Carlo analysis. And that will be our topic for today. So I start by defining what's a Monte Carlo or what's a simulation. Now, simulation is just a systematic duplication of a system using the random number and the probability. That means it's what we call a trial and error method, where you get the probability and then you try. If the outcome is this, what will be the result? If I use this probability, what will be the outcome? Now that's what we call simulation. It's a system, just a systematic duplication of a system using the random number and the probability. Then when developing up a simulation or the Monte Carlo or doing the Monte Carlo analysis, we have some steps we need to follow. And those are the following steps are followed. Number one, you have to identify the objective. Objective is what do you want to achieve, or what's the problem, or what we call the statement of the problem. Number one, you identify the objective. After you identify the objective, now you determine all the input variable. Now, the input variable, input variable is what you require so that you can attain your objective. Then, that's step number two. Then step number three, you have now to develop what we call a probability distribution, or what we call the Monte Carlo table. That's step number three. You develop probability distribution. Then from there, step number four, you determine the logic of the model. After determining the logic of the model, step number four, that's when now you develop the simulation table. Now, those are the major 5 steps. Actually, there are 8 steps, but those are the 5 major steps. You identify the objective. Step number 2, you determine or you develop, you determine the input variables. Then step number 3, then you have to develop the probability distribution or the Monte Carlo. Then step number 4, determine the logic of the model. And then from there, you have to come up with simulation table. Good. Now, those are the steps followed. Now, from there, we can look at the advantages, disadvantages, what's the role of the computer in using the simulation table, etc. Good. So now let's get that in writing now. So we are saying that simulation analysis or the Monte Carlo analysis is a systematic duplication of a system using random numbers and probability. Random number and probabilities. Now that's what we call simulation analysis. And then what are the steps do we follow when developing simulation analysis or when performing simulation analysis? One of the steps we follow, we have said that you identify the objective. Identify the objective of the model. After you identify the objective of the model, then number 2, you identify or you determine input variables. And you have said that input variable is what you require so that you can attain your objectives. Then step number 3, you develop probability distribution. And this probability distribution is also known as Monte Carlo distribution. Then step number 4, you need now to determine the logic of the model. And then step number 5, now you can develop simulation table. Yeah, those are the major 5 steps forward when coming up with Monte Carlo or coming up with the simulation analysis. Also, we have others, because there are 8 steps forward. Number 6, you compute the total outcome. Then you get the average, outcome. And then from there, you make optimal decisions. So those are the 5 steps forward, but I want you to understand up to number 5. Yeah, up to that point. Want us to look at something else? So we can look at what are the roles of computer? Law of computer in simulation. So what are the role of computer in simulation analysis? So number 1, how can we use computer, or how can computer assist us in coming up with simulation analysis? 1, it can help us to generate random numbers. Number 2, it can also assist us to simulate thousands of trials. Simulate thousands of trials. Yeah, when the number of trials are too many, so a computer can assist us. There is a software you can use to perform that simulation analysis. Also, computer can also be used in providing the management with timely reports. So those are some of the roles in computer, or the advantages of computer in simulation analysis. Good. Something else we can look is the advantages. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using simulation analysis? The advantages and disadvantages of using simulation analysis as a decision-making tool. So we start with the advantages of simulation analysis. Now, one of the major advantages is that simulation is cheaper. Simulation is cheaper and less risky. Then another advantage is that it can be used. It can be used to train decision maker. Another advantage is that it can be used. Where analytical techniques are not available, or where they are available, but they are complex. Yeah. And could be complex. Yeah, we mean that it can be used when analytical techniques are not available and in which those analytical techniques are complex. Then, number 4, another advantages of simulation analysis is that it's easy to perform what if analysis. analysis. That's what you call trial and error. What if? What if the probability is this? What will be the outcome? What if the outcome will be this? What will be this? Yeah, that's another advantages. Number 5, its results are accurate as compared to analytical model. So those are the sums of the advantages of simulation analysis. If it has advantages, it must be having disadvantages. Now, what are the advantages of simulation analysis? And one of the advantages, it's one of the disadvantages, is that each simulation is unique. Each simulation is unique. When we say they are unique, that means the simulation cannot be generalized for every situation. So each simulation is unique and therefore cannot be generalized. Another disadvantage is that simulation sometimes it can be expensive. Simulation can be expensive. Yeah, in terms of resources. Yeah, for example, now assuming you are performing 1,000 of trial or 100 of trial. So in that case, you need to apply a software. So in that case, you require software and also you require a computer. Also, you require an expert. That means the personnel. And then number 3, another disadvantage is that it does not provide optimal results. You see, we have said that we are using probability. You see, probability is applied in the environment of uncertainty. So that means in that case, since we are in the environment of uncertainty, it's hard for we to get an optimal results. And then other disadvantages. So sometimes it may be difficult to interpret simulation results. That means for you to interpret the simulation result, you must be well trained on how to learn on how to interpret the simulation or how to perform the simulation analysis. Those are the sums of the advantages and disadvantages of simulation analysis. Good. So now with that, now we are ready to do an illustration. I want us to do an illustration. So let's start with December 2017. December 2017, question 3D. Open that question. So you're doing question 3D. That's November 2017, question 3D. Yeah, we are there. The management of New Era Computer System Limited is planning to launch a new product branded Zimsang. The fixed cost of Zimsang is 80,000. However, The selling price, variable cost, and annual sales volume of Zimsang are uncertain. The data below relates to product Zimsang. So you have the unit selling price and we have probability. Variable cost, probability. Sales volume, probability. So that means we have three variables. One is the selling price, variable cost, and sales volume. If you have three variables, that means you'll have to prepare three Monte Carlos or three probability distribution. Every variable, one Monte Carlo. Another variable, develop another Monte Carlo. Required, simulate the average profit of product Zimsang on the basis of 10 trials. That means you try 10 times using the following random numbers. And you are given that. Yeah. So if I take you back, we say that step number one, you have to identify the objective. After you identify the objective, in business, we have two major objectives. One, it's either you maximize on profit or you minimize on cost. Those are the two major objectives on any entity. It's either you are maximizing on profit or you're minimizing on cost. Now, in this case, for all simulation, for mostly QA, we'll be dealing with profit maximization. Then for cost minimization, this one will do it under advanced management accounting, section 5, when doing the inventory controls. Yeah, but meanwhile, from September 2015, the minimization was eliminated from QA, it was taken to section 5. So in this case, we'll only be focusing with maximization of profit. And how can you know the company they are on? Okay, how can you identify the objective of the company? You can identify the objective of the company from the question itself. For example, in this case, required, we are told that simulate the average profit. You see, they want the profit. So you know automatically that the objective is in profit, it's the profit maximization. So let's apply the steps forward. We say that step number one, you identify the objective. So step number one was to identify the objective. And what was our objective? Our objective is profit or maximization of profit or profit maximization. Step number two, you are supposed to identify the input variable. What are the input variables? In this case, we have three input variables. Number one, we have the selling price. Also, you are given the variable cost, and also you are given sales volume. Yeah, those are the three variables given there. Yeah, you see, we are told that. However, the selling price, variable cost, and annual sales volume of Zimsang are uncertain. And that's why you're given the unit selling price, variable cost, and sales volume. Now, those are our input variable. This is what we require for us to attain our objective. Step number three, you are supposed to develop Monte Carlo, or you develop what you call probability distribution. Now, the question is, how many Monte Carlo will we prepare? I have explained that. How many Monte Carlos or how many probability distribution will we prepare? Yes, we should prepare three. Remember, we say that if we have three variables, each variable you have to present its own Monte Carlo. And since we have three variables here, you have to present three Monte Carlos. So let's present the Monte Carlos there. One, it's for the selling price. Also for variable cost, and then for the sales volume. like that. And then how do you prepare the Monte Carlos? So use the information given there. You have the unit selling price and you have the probability. The same thing for the variable cost, probability. Sales volume, probability. So this is how we prepare. For example, the selling price, you bring the amount there and you are given the probability. Then you cumulate this probability. So you bring cumulative probability and then you range. The same you do for the variable cost. You bring the amount, then probability, then you cumulate, you bring the cumulative probability, and then you range. Tukuja kwa sales volume, you do the same. You bring the number of units, or just bring the amount, then probability, you cumulate the probability, and then you range. Now for the selling price, we are given the amount there. We have 60, we have 80, we have 100. Then we are given the probability. We have 0.25, 0.45, 0.30. Let's cumulate. So it's 0.25, you add 0.45, so what you get 0.70, and then 7 plus 3, you get 1.00. We'll come to range later. Then to the amount. For amount you do, to the variable cost. Now for the variable cost, you are given 20 shillings, 40, and 60. Probability you are given 0.25, 0.55, and 0.20. Then you can accumulate 0.25, 0.80, 1.00. Do the same for the sales volume. You are given the unit there, 40,000 units, 60,000 units, or 100,000 units. Then probability, you have 0.30, 0.35, 0.35. Then you accumulate 0.30, 0.75, 0.65, and then 1.00. Now, let's go to ranging. How do we range? How do we range? Now, this is how we range. Your ranging will depend on your random numbers given. Tuangalie hapo. You see, we are given the random numbers here. And you see they are in doubles. If they are in doubles, we say they are in hundreds. Kama ingekuwa moja moja, we say they are in tens. If there were 3, we say they are in thousands. So in this our case, since they are double, they are in hundreds. And that's why if you look at our cumulative probability, you see they are in hundreds, in hundreds, in hundreds. Now when ranging, this is how you assume. You assume, when ranging, you use the cumulative probability, assuming they are whole numbers. This is what I mean. You assume this is 25, 70, 100. 25, 80, 100. So you assume the cumulative probability, they are whole numbers. Then, this is how you range. Ukuje hapa, 0, 0, this is 25. 25 minus 1, you get 24. Then unakuja hapa, unaanza na 25, this one, 2, this is 70. 70 minus 1, you get 69. Unaanza hapa 70. This is 100. 100 minus 1, you get 99. We come back here. 0, 0. Tumesema you assume the cumulative probability, they are whole numbers. So this is 25. You minus 1. So it's 0, 0 to 24. 25, 80 minus 1, you get 79. Then 82. This is 100 minus 1, you get 99. So tukuje hapa kwa cumulative probability. So it's 0.30. Sorry, it's 0, eh? So 30 minus 1, you get 29. Then from 30, this is 65. 65 minus 1, you get 64. And then from 65 to 99. Like that. So that's our Monte Carlo. That was step number 3. Our step number 4, you are supposed to determine the logic of the model. After you come up with the Monte Carlo or the probability distribution, now you can determine the logic of the model. Now, how to determine the logic of the model? So step number 4 is the logic of the model. Now, the logic of the model, you see our objective is profit maximization. Now you ask yourself, you have 3 variables: selling price, variable cost, and sales volume. How can you use the 3 variables given to attain your objective? In short, how can you use selling price, variable cost, and sales volume to get your profit? So that's what you call the logic of the model. So you can do this. We have 2 ways you can do it. You can take the selling price, you raise the variable cost to get what we call contribution margin per unit. Selling price minus variable cost, you get contribution margin per unit. Then you multiply by the number of units or the sales volume to get the total contribution margin. To get the total contribution margin, then you can deduct the fixed cost for you to get your profit. That's one way. You take the selling price minus variable cost, you multiply by the number of units, and then you raise the fixed cost. Or, since you are given the selling price and the variable cost, you can do this. You take the selling price times the sales volume to get the total revenue. Minus, you take the variable cost, you multiply by the sales volume or the number of units to get the total variable cost. And then you raise the fixed cost. It's another way for you to get your profit. But the first one is the simplest. Yeah, this is what you call the CVP analysis formula or the break-even point formula. It's one of the easiest. That was step number 4. And then step number 5, it was now you develop simulation table. So now let's develop simulation table. And how do we develop simulation table? This is how you develop simulation table. Simulation table. So the question was, let me take you back to the question and a required. So you are simulate the average profit of product Zimsang on the basis of 10 trials. 10 trials. So kikuja hapa, tunaanza na trials. 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's one. Then from there, utumie hii formula, the logic of the model, where you take the selling price. So you take selling price, you raise the variable cost, so that we can get contribution margin per unit. To get the contribution margin per unit, then you multiply by the number of units or the sales volume. You multiply by the sales volume so that now we can get total contribution margin. Then you raise fixed cost so that you can get your profit. I repeat again. So what I have shown here is from the logic of the model. Selling price minus variable cost to get the contribution margin per unit. And then you can multiply by X. Our X in this case will be the sales volume. Then you get your total contribution margin. To get the total contribution margin, now you can deduct the fixed cost for you to get your profit. Then the other step, since we have prepared 3 Monte Carlos, or since we have 3 variables, selling price, variable cost, and sales volume, those are what we have prepared the Monte Carlo for. So the first one is the selling price. So selling price ugawanyishe mara mbili. One, you record the random number and then you bring the amount. Also variable cost, tumetengeneza Monte Carlo, it's a variable. You show the random number and the amount. Also sales volume, it's another variable. Unakuja hapo kwa sales volume. So you show random number and the number of units. Like that. So now, that being the first step, now let's continue. Then you insert tuanze na random numbers. So ulikuwa umeambiwa simulate the average profit of the product of Zimsang on the basis of 10 trials. Use the following random numbers. So you have 81, 32, 60 umepewa hivyo. So this is how you insert them. 81, 32, 60 hizo ni za kwanza. So utakuja hapa 81, 32, 60. Mahali kuna random number, random number, random number, random number. Then unaenda to the other trial. Unaendelea mahali ulikuwa umefika. Tulikuwa tumefika 60. The other one was 04, 46, 31, 67, 25, 24, 10, 40, 02, 39, 68, 08, 59, 66, 90, 12, 64, 79, 31, 86, 68, 82, 89, 25. Then we have 11, 98, and 16. We are through with that. Then another point you need to note, sometimes the random number given hizi tumepewa hapa. For example, in this case, we are told you try 10 trials, and the random number given here, they have fit. Zime fit to all up to here. This was the last one. Sometimes you'll be given the random number, which are not enough. Okay, this is what I mean. In this case, we have performed 10 trials. Mpaka hapa, na zikaishia hapa. What if the examiner wanted 15 trials, and the random number given zimeishia kwa 16? So what you usually do, random numbers zikiisha, you start with the first one. You start again. 81, 32, 60. So in case the random number is exhausted and the number of trials are not fulfilled, so what you usually do, you just repeat, or you start from the first random number. So that's the first step. You record the random numbers. Now, after you record the random numbers, now we need to get the specific amount. For example, tuanze na hii ya selling price. Now, this is where now you apply your Monte Carlo. Tukuje hapo. We want us to start with the selling price. Ukuje hapa kwa Monte Carlo for the selling price. And then you are applying the ranges. Tuangalie the ranges. For example, the first random number is 81. Unakuja kwa ranges. You ask yourself, where can you get 81 under the ranges? So 81 is in between 70 and 99. That means the amount will be 100. Unakuja again. The second one is 04. unakuja kwa range still at under selling price unaangalia hapa 04, it's in between 00 to 24th, so that means the amount will be 60. So that's 100, 60. 67 iko hapa, so it will be 80. 10 iko in between 00 to 24, so kwa hivyo itakuwa 60. 39 iko hapa, so itakuwa 80. 59 iko hapa bado, it's 80 still. 12 iko hapa, so itakuwa 60. 31 80. 82 iko hapa, so it will be 100. 11 iko hapa, that will be 60. Tuende hiyo ingine. Now tuko for the variable cost. Now for the variable cost, now we are using this Monte Carlo for the variable cost. So the first random number is 32. Unakuja 32 unaangalia kwa ranges. 32 is in between 25 and 79. So that means our variable cost will be 40. 46 iko hapa, so itakuwa 40 bado. 25 still iko hapo, 40 still iko there, so itakuwa 40. 68 iko hapo, 66 iko hapo, 64 iko hapo. 86 is in between 80 to 99, so that means it will be 60. Also 89 will be 60 and 98 will be 60. Also we had another random number. Tukuje hapa kwa sales volume. Now under the sales volume, the first random number is 60. So 60, now you are using this Monte Carlo here. 60 iko in between here, between that to 64. And in that case, the volume is 60,000. Kuna 40, 60 and 100, so it's 60,000. So we have that one iko hapo bado, 60,000. 24 the same. No, 24 it's in between here, so itakuwa 40,000. Tayo ni 40,000. 40,000. 90 it's 100,000. 79 it's 100,000. 68 iko hapa, kumaanisha it's still 100. 68 iko hapo, so it's 100,000 units. 25 iko kwa 40, also 16 is under 40. So that was the work of the Monte Carlo there. Hiyo kazi yake imeisha sasa. Now after you're through with that, now let's fill the relevant. Tumebakisha hii contribution margin per unit. Tumesema how do we get contribution margin? It's just the selling price minus the variable cost. Kwa hivyo hapo utachukua 100 minus 40, 60. 60 minus 40, 20. 80 minus 40, 40. 20, 40, 40, 20, 20, 40, and 0. Now those are the contribution margin per each unit you sell. Then, how do you get the total contribution margin? In this case, you take the contribution margin per unit, you multiply by the number of units you sold. So kama hapa itakuwa 60 per unit, and you sold 60,000 units. So it's 60 times 60. So allow me my figures to be in thousands. Hata hapa profit iko in thousands. So 60 times 60, that's 3.6 million. Kwa hivyo itakuwa 3.6. Then 20 times 60, that's 1.2 million. 40 times 40, that's 1.6. 20 na 40, hiyo ni 800. 40 na 40, that's 1.6. 40 itakuwa, so this one will be 4. Yeah, that's 4 million. that's 2 million. 20 times that one, you get 2 million. 40 times 40,000, you get 1.6. 0 times 40, you get 0. Now that's the total contribution margin. Then you can deduct our fixed cost, and you will be given the fixed cost there. Yeah, fixed cost ulikuwa umeambiwa. Yeah, the management of New Era Computer System Limited is planning to launch a new product branded Zimsang. The fixed cost of Zimsang is 80,000. So it was 80,000. So unakuja hapa kwa fixed cost nika 80. Like that. So now we can get our profit. So that 600 minus 80, unapata ni that 520. Hiyo ni 1120. Hiyo ni 1520. Hiyo ni 720. That's 1520. That's 3920. That's 1920. Here you have 1920 still. Here we have 1520. So this one not 16,000, it's 16, eh? Yeah. Na hiyo unapata negative 80. Now, after now you have the profit, eh? The next step, you just get the total profit, and then you get the average. So the total profit, you just add that 250, 1120 mpaka chini, eh? And you'll get 17,600. Then from there you get the average. How do you get the average? So to get the average, so we have seen that the total profit we've gotten it's 17,600, and then you get the average. To get the average, you take 17,600, you divide by the number of trials. We had 10 trials. That means it would be like that. 1.76 million. And that's what the examiner wanted. Just hoping there is no question there up to that point, so that we can still try another illustration. Can try another illustration. We do the same. You are following the same steps. Eh? Or before I give you another illustration, eh, I want to give you an assignment. Just write somewhere an assignment. I want you to go and try this question. So you try. I hope umeandika hiyo swali tumesema. Can't find it. Yeah. So May 2014, go and try May 2014, question 4B. Question 4B. It's the same question we have done. Eh? Nimwambia examiner, they usually don't set new question. They just repeat what we have been doing here. Eh? Like in this one, remember, Excellent Product Limited deals in the production of a new product named Guvu. The fixed cost of production is 4 million. The data below relate to probability distribution of the selling price, variable cost, and annual sales volume of Guvu. So you have the selling price, you have probability. Then variable cost, probability. Annual sales volume, probability. Now, my question is, how many Monte Carlo will we prepare? How many Monte Carlo will we prepare in that case? Yeah, you prepare still 3 Monte Carlos. Eh? Required. Simulate the average profit of Excel Product Limited on the basis of 10 trials using the following random numbers. And then number 2, highlight 3 advantages and disadvantages of simulation analysis. Yeah, kwa introduction I already given you the advantages and the disadvantages. Yeah, you see kama hapa tumepewa random number 81 32 60 eh? 81 32 60. Ndizo hizi tu. 81 32 60. It's the same question. Eh? It's only the figure they have changed. So you do that one as an assignment. So another assignment you can go and try. December 2012. That's another assignment. December 2012. Question 5A. Question 5A. Question 5A. It's the same case. Eh? We are told that Hekima Limited is the process of financing a new product in the market. The initial cost of launch is 6 million. Now, that initial cost you treated as the fixed cost. The probability distribution of the selling price, variable cost, and sales volume is given below. So, umepewa selling price, probability, variable cost, probability, sales volume, probability. So, still you have 3 variables. That means you prepare 3 Monte Carlos. The following random number are provided. So, umepewa selling price, variable cost, na sales volume. Now, in this case, you see kama ni selling price, umepewa random number zake kando. Variable cost kando, sales volume kando. So that means, kama ni kwa selling price hapa, utaweka random number zake hivyo. Ukuje kwa sales volume, uziweke, vertically. Yeah? Sales volume, unaweka vertically, like that. Then required, the average profit of Hekima Limited using Monte Carlo simulation method with 12 trials. So at some time the examiner might decide not to tell you how many trials. Eh? If you're not given the trials, this is how you count. If you want to know how many trials to present, unaangalia hapa. Unaona hapa umepewa 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in case the examiner has not specified the number of trials, so you can also count on that. Good. So let's try another illustration. Tufungue May 2017, question 4C. May 2017, question 4C. Yeah, hoping we are there. We are told that we are in part C. Pure Grain Society is considering the planting of wheat in a piece of land it recently acquired. The data below relate to the estimated selling price, yield, and cost of planting wheat. There's only 3 variables. So you have the selling price per ton, probability. Yield per acre, probability. Cost per acre, probability. So that means also you prepare 3 Monte Carlos because we have 3 variables. You are provided with the following random numbers. So we have that. Required. Using 8 trials, simulate the average profit of the Pure Grain Society. You determine the profit. So how can we get the profit in that case? So the steps remains the same. And step number 1, let's go back to the step. Step number 1 tukasema you have to identify the objective. Our objective is profit maximization, because umeambiwa determine the average profit, so automatically know the profit. The objective is to maximize on profit. Step number 2, we identify the input variables, and there we are given 3 variables. One is the selling price, then you are given yield. Yield is the same as volume, and then you are given the cost per acre. Those are the 3 variables. Then step number 3, you develop simulation, probability distribution of the Monte Carlos. Now Monte Carlo, we also prepare 3 of them. Since we have 3 variables. So the first one, ni here selling price. Then the other one was for yield. And the third one was the cost. The cost. So you bring the amount, probability, you accumulate the probability, and then you range. The same here, you bring the amount, probability, accumulate, and then you range. Also for the cost, the same, you bring the amount, probability, you determine the cumulative probability, and then you range. The selling price, we have 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, and we are given the probability. So we have 240, 250, 260, 270, 280. You have the probability 0.18, 0.18, 0.29, 0.31, 0.14, 0.08. Then let's cumulate. 0.18, 0.18 you add 0.29, you're only 47. That one you get 78. That one is 92, 1.00. We go now to the yield. Yield, you are given 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Then you have probability 0.09, 0.16, 0.24, 3813. Then we accumulate. So it's 0.09, 0.25, 0.49, 0.87, 1.00. And lastly, we have for the cost. For the cost, you have 12,000, 14,000, 16,000, 18,000, and 20,000. Then probability, you are given 0.14, 0.22, 0.36, 0.26, 0.02. We accumulate 0.14, you add 22, get 0.36, 36, you add 36, that's 0.72. 72, you add 26, you get 0.98, and then 1.00. Then twende tukarange. Tulisema when ranging, you use the cumulative probability, assuming that they are whole numbers. We assume this is 18, 47, 78, 92, and 100. Then 0, 0, this is 18. 18 minus 1, you get 17. Then unaanza from 18. This is 47, you minus 1, you get 46. So unaanza 47. 78 minus 1, you get 77. Then unaanza 78. 92 minus 1, you get 91. And then from 92, 100 minus 1, you get 99. 00 to 08, 09 to 24, 25 to 48, 49 to 86, 87 to 99. 00 to 13, 14 to 35, 36 to 71, 72 to 97, 98 to 99. So you're through with our third step. Now step number 4. Step number 4 tukasema you determine the logic of the model. So step number 3 ilikuwa Monte Carlo. Tushatengeneza hiyo. And then you determine the logic of the model. Now from the question, our objective is to maximize on the profit, or in short, we want to get the profit. How can you get the profit having this information? Hapo umepewa selling price, umepewa yield. Na tulisema yield is the same as the sales volume, and then tumepewa cost per acre. So how can you use that to get the profit? So now, this question and the one we have done, they are the same. But there is a difference. You see, in this case, we are given the selling price. Okay. Tulisema you can take the selling price minus variable cost to get the contribution margin times X minus fixed cost. In this case, actually, in this question, we are not given the fixed cost. So in this case, you get total contribution. Or you can take the total revenue minus total cost to get the total contribution. Now, based on this question, you cannot take selling price minus variable cost because everyone selling price hapa, we have 240, 250, up to 280. Lakini cost, tumepatiwa in terms of total. You see, it's 12,000, 14,000. It cannot make sense by taking 240 minus 12,000. That one makes no sense. But if you take the selling price, because this is per ton, you multiply by the number of tons to get the total revenue. That's when you can less the cost. Let me repeat again. I'm saying you take the selling price, because this were given per ton. In short, it's the same as per unit. Then yield is the same as units. Nimepewa yield per acre. So in yield sasa, you multiply by X so that you can get total total revenue. Then after you get the total revenue, that's when you can less the total cost, because in this case, you're given the cost per acre. Yeah, it's not cost per ton, it's cost per acre. So for our logic there, tumesema you take the selling price, you multiply by the yield to get the total revenue, and then you raise the total cost. Then from there, you can develop simulation table. Let's come up with simulation table. So in this case, you are told that required, using 8 trials. So we are using 8 trials. So you bring trials, 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then tumesema uchukue selling price. You multiply by the X. X yetu ilikuwa yield. so that you can get total revenue. Then uchukue total revenue, you raise the cost so that now you can get total contribution, total contribution. So in this case, you're not given the fixed cost. If you had been given the fixed cost, you could have taken the total contribution margin, you raise the fixed cost to get the profit. So that's how I present that. Then we had 3 variables, or we have prepared 3 Monte Carlos. Since we have 3 Monte Carlos, the first one was for the selling price. Kwa hivyo kwa selling price, you divide it into 2. One, it's for the random number. The other one, it's for the amount. Also yield, you do the same. Random number and the amount, or the number of tons. Also you have for the cost. Ukuje kwa cost, you do the same. Random numbers and then amount. So tuanze na random numbers. You see in this random number umepewa ikiwa hivyo in line. So utachukua 03, 91, 38. You perform the first try, So I mean 03, 91, 38. Unaenda hiyo ingine ya pili 55, 17, 46. That 2, 43, 69, 72, 24, 22, 61, 96, 30. 32 zimeishia hapo kwa 32. The random number given in this case, yusuri kumepewa up to 32 na zimeisha. So zikiisha, but you see the examiner wanted 8 trials, but random numbers zimeishia hapa. Tukasema in case the random number have been exhausted, unaanza na ile ya kwanza 03. Kwa hivyo hapa tulikuwa tumefika 32, kwa hivyo unaanza tena 03, anda nyingine 91, 38, 55, 17, 46, 32, 43, until you have now 8 trials. Now let's get the amount. Now to get the amount, that's when you factor in the Monte Carlos. The first one, we want to start with the selling price. The selling price, you just come here to the Monte Carlo for the selling price. The first random number is 03. Unakuja kwa ranges. Kwa ranges, unaangalia where is 03. 03 is in between 00 to 17. In that case, the amount will be 240. So unaweka 240. 55. 55 is in between 47 and 77. So you'll have 260. That 2 is in between 18 and 46. That means it will be 250. 72, bado ni 260. 61, 260. That 2, 250. 38, 250. 46, 250. I want us to go to the second one, the yield. For the yield, unakuja sasa hapo. The first random number is 91. So unakuja hapa 91. 91 is in between 87 and 99. So that means in this case, yield ni 90. Hiyo ingine ni 17. 17, kwa hivyo itakuwa 75. 43 itakuwa 80. 24 itakuwa 75. 96 itakuwa 85. 03 itakuwa 70. 55 itakuwa 85. 32 itakuwa 80. And then we also had the random number for cost. Kwa cost, the first random number is 38. Unakuja hapa unatafuta 38. That 8 is in between 36 and 71. That means the amount will be 16,000. So that's 16,000. 46 bado ni 16,000. 69 bado ni 16,000. 22 ni 14,000. 30 ni 14,000. 91 hiyo ni 18. 17 it's 14,000. 43 it's 16,000. Now with that, now we can get the total revenue. Tulisema to get the total revenue is just price times the number of tons. So let's do that. So it's 240. That's the selling price per ton. You multiply by the number of tons, 90. So you utapata 21,600. 260 times 75, you get 19,500. 250 times 80, you get 20,000. 260 times 75, that's 19,500. 260 times 85, you get, that is 23,400. Now inakuja 17,500. Then we have 21,250. Then 20,000. Then, after you have the total revenue, now you take the total revenue minus the cost for you to get the profit or to get the contribution margin. So like the first one is 21,600. That was the revenue. And the cost was 16,000. So you'll get 5,600. 19,500 utoe hiyo inabakia 3,500. 20,000 minus 16, you get 4,000. 19,500 minus 14, hiyo ni 5,500. 23 utoe 14 ni 6 plus 3, hiyo inakuja 9,400. 17,500 utoe hiyo ni loss of 500. 21 minus 14, hiyo ni 7,250. 20 utoe 16, automatically inabakia 4,000. Now after you do that, you get the total profit or the total contribution margin, of which utapata 38,750. Now, after you have the total, now you can get the average. You see what we have done? Simulation, tulisema ni trials. Unajaribu, what if probability ikuwe hii, profit itakuwa hii. Then after that, you get the total and then you get the average so that you can advise the management that from setting that, our average profit or what we expect to get. So in this case, you get that 8,750. Then you have performed 8 trials. You divide by 8. Na utapata ngapi? So utapata approximately 43.75. Ama wite 750 because our figures, they were in thousands. As simple as that. So that's how simulation is. So now I want to give you this opportunity. In case you have a question, you can raise a question. Just raise your hand. I'm giving you 30 seconds.
Hello.
Yes, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm also good.
You have a question?
No, I don't have a question. But there's someone who I wanted to meet, Edward Ochola. I think I went to him to school some years back.
Sorry?
Kindly, I wanted to, I think, can I have Edward's number?
Yes, amekusikia atatoa hapo. Edward, eh?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome. No, I hope just now you're okay. Eh? No one else has a question. Okay, yeah. So we can call it a session. So kwaherini.